Hey guys, let's get more news about Warriors, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Warriors Steve Kerr reveals real reason behind Stephen Curry's shooting woes after loss to Nuggets. Don't be surprised if Stephen Curry rests on the Warriors' upcoming 4-game road trip. The Golden State Warriors were outclassed by Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets on Sunday, falling 119-103 to the defending champions at Chase Center. Stephen Curry never found his footing against a physical, aggressive Denver defense that sold out to stop him, finishing with 20 points on 19 shots while missing 9 of his 10 three-point attempts. The loss completes Denver's 4-0 sweep of Golden State, hardly a surprise given Curry's sustained struggles playing up to his lofty individual standards. Sunday's game marks the third time this season he shot 35% or worse against the Nuggets, at least partially a result of dogged individual defense from Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Denver's team-wide commitment to closing airspace on the greatest shooter of all time. After the game, Steve Kerr hardly deflected credit from the Nuggets, praising Michael Malone's team in all facets as a worthy reigning champ. As he sees it, though, defense isn't the only factor that contributed to another off night from Curry against Denver. Steph has looked tired to me the last couple games, Kerr said. It makes sense, the All-Star game stuff, not getting much of a break, 3 games in 4 nights, the whole deal. He looks a little tired. This is all part of the season and he'll bounce back. Curry went 5 of 14 and committed 4 turnovers in Golden State's ugly yet convincing win over the Charlotte Hornets on Friday. He was far better 24 hours earlier against the Los Angeles Lakers, willing his way to 32 points and 8 assists on 50% from the field in an encouraging Dubs victory. The Warriors begin a 4-game road trip on Tuesday against the Washington Wizards. A matchup with basketball's worst team seems like the perfect time to get Curry some much-needed rest. If he ends up playing in the nation's capital, though, don't be surprised when Golden State's 35-year-old franchise player sits for another game on his team's Eastern Conference swing. I'll talk to Rick about that, Kerr said of Curry potentially resting. We'll just take it game by game and see how he's doing. But like I said, this is all part of the season. Every player goes through just feeling a little fatigued, a little heavy-legged. He'll get it back, and if we have to give him a game to help him do that, then we'll do that. Warriors Steve Kerr reveals Chris Paul plan with Stephen Curry ahead of injury return. Steve Kerr has a plan for Chris Paul. Chris Paul is set to rejoin the Golden State Warriors after sitting out the last 2 months due to wrist injury, which means Steve Kerr will have to find a way to resolve the numbers crunch that comes with the point guard's return. Interestingly, it looks like Kerr already has a pretty good idea on how he will utilize the point guard once he's back. After their loss to the Denver Nuggets on Sunday, Kerr was asked about his plan for Paul's minutes when he returns. It came after the Warriors' head coach admitted recently that it's going to be really tough to distribute the playing time for all the players, especially with Brandon Podziemski and Jonathan Kuminga stepping up and cracking the regular rotation. Nonetheless, Kerr shared that CP3 will be playing the non-Stephen Curry minutes. Chris, when he comes back, will play all of the non-Steph minutes, Kerr explained, via NBC Sports. However, the veteran coach noted that Paul will still play alongside Curry from time to time, though the plan for now is to really have the 38-year-old playmaker fill in for Curry when he sits and alleviate some of the load from him. Chris Paul is expected to return sometime in the Warriors' upcoming road trip against the Washington Wizards, New York Knicks, Toronto Raptors, and Boston Celtics. Prior to his injury, Paul was splitting time as a starter and as the 6th man for the Dubs. Sure enough, Steve Kerr plans to keep Chris Paul coming off the bench for the time being. With that said, it will definitely be interesting to see how much impact he'll have once he's back. The Dubs could really use Paul's help, especially with fatigue catching up on Stephen Curry. Joel Embiid could return from injury in March and become a free agent. The Philadelphia 76ers are considering signing Joel Embiid as a free agent following his knee injury, which has kept him sidelined since January 30th. In fact, the team is working with a deadline of the end of March for the pivot to return. The star was leading the race for the MVP until he suffered the injury, which took him out of any chance of competing for a second consecutive award. The information comes from journalist Keith Pompey from the Philadelphia Inquirer portal. According to him, the franchise continues to study the best way to do this. What I know is that Philadelphia wants to remain a team among the favorites. Even while they are not counting on the player, they want to be able to preserve their direct playoff position until the end of the regular season. Right now, they will need to do so without Embiid on the court. This is what the franchise foresees as the ideal scenario, he stated. His meniscus surgery went well and, now, this is the period that they need to wait and try to stay in the top 6 of the Eastern Conference, avoiding a play-in, while continuing to win and gain the reinforcement of their most important player. Dominant. These are the things that the 76ers envision amid Joel Embiid's injury. They finally feel like they can do it, Pompey explained. The journalist does not cite a specific date for the return. But he mentions that this will be essential for him to regain some rhythm for the postseason. A return after March would give Embiid less time and minutes to recondition himself. The 76ers will play 7 games in April. Therefore, ensuring that the team can use these games to get the MVP back into rhythm, while also having a few games with him at the end of March, is the perfect scenario. If the Sixers manage to maintain their position amid all this, they will once again be a very dangerous team this season, concluded Pompey. The information comes shortly after one of the 76ers' good victories after the center's injury. This Friday, 23, the team beat the Cleveland Cavaliers, current runner-up in the conference, in a game played in Philadelphia. The retrospect without the star, however, is not so good. There are just 4 wins in 10 games since the fateful duel with the Golden State Warriors. In the campaign in general, the impact of the number 21 is felt. With him, the team won 26 of 34 matches. On the other hand, without him, there are 7 wins in 22 games. Those who already have an eye on Joel Embiid is the Warriors, who have already declared the league's interest in the player. If he becomes a free agent, the Warriors will certainly try to exchange him. And you, fan, what do you think of the situation about Joel Embiid? Leave your opinion in the comments.